If you had a challenge with some kind of addiction, and I'll explain what I mean by addiction today. Well, today we're going to talk about this and the impact on mental health that I've experienced in my men's mental health and growth journey. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then as well. Okay, addiction. Right. When I certainly used to hear the word addiction, and again, I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not an addiction expert. I'm just sharing my own personal experience, what I've learned in my life. So I've had a problem with things going on with different addictions in my life. And it does not mean I was on drugs or drinking alcohol every day. I've not been to that point. I know it has been the case for some people and is the case for some people. Yet for me, I've had different types of addictions in my life. My phone and using social media is a terrible one that I'm still working to overcome. Having too much sugar has been one that I've had. And when I was a kid, really bad PlayStation, video gaming, 10, day after day after day, like many, many hours, I used to be addicted to it. And although I would share, I've also when I've gone on nights out, I did have problems at time of drinking too much. I'm not gonna hide that one as well. I didn't get to the point of every day. And what I've learned from why was it that I had these addictive behaviors of things that weren't necessarily good for me. I know lots of people do as well. And it was really a quote I read in the book Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it was, addiction is a lack of connection. I'll say that again. Addiction is a lack of connection. Now, you may not agree, you may have heard different things. For me, that makes a lot of sense. And this is from a very wise, high level of consciousness spiritual teacher. So, not only did his, what's the word I'm looking for? Credibility, do a lot for me, but also the fact it actually just did resonate as well. Think about it. When you're really connected with yourself and or other people, do you want to usually do those addictive behaviors? Well, I certainly don't, right? I remember being with my mentor and my friends the other day in America, and we were talking after our event. We had a really good time, and we had really good conversations, having a laugh, had a good event. And I was like, I don't want to check my phone. I don't want to eat sugar. None of these things. I felt like I never want to drink again in my life there. Right, I'm currently on a non-drinking spell anyway, and I'm 4 months into it. Yet, in that moment, I was really connected. I've also been at times where I remember just running, spending time with some great people, and I was just like, I don't want to I don't ever want to do anything bad again, eat bad food or drink, because I just feel so good, so connected, right? The times when I've had an excessive amount of too much sugar, or maybe as a kid when I was playing PlayStation, but when I was going through spells and have many friends around, it is from a lack of connection. Mostly though, I've learned that the lack of connection is a lack of connection with myself. And I'll ask you this, how does it feel when you've got a lack of connection with yourself and or other people? If you're like me, it didn't feel so good. We're going to go into some points on how I personally working through some of these bad behaviors. Now, so the first one is create a space for connection daily to yourself. Find time to speak to your inner child. I'm going to do the next episode actually on inner child work. But if you imagine you got yourself your 3, 4, 5-year-old version of you, and you were to treat them like you're treating yourself, it probably wouldn't be very good. Imagine that neglected, that abandoned child, how they'd be feeling. They wouldn't feel that connection. Well, that inner child, I've learned, is living inside of me. And when I neglect him, I therefore start getting into bad behaviors because he's screaming, crying for attention. And therefore, I'm just trying to calm down the noise by bad behaviors, right? So find time to connect with your inner child every single day. The second one, be honest about it. If there's a bad behavior that you're doing, the greatest first step is being honest about it. Another addiction that a lot of people get into is things like porn as well, right? I've never got into like that excessively as well. But yeah, in my 20s, obviously have watched it as well. But it's like, it's a thing that a lot of people get into as alongside like the bad food and things like alcohol, drugs, smoking, all these kind of things, right? And I'm not saying things are right or wrong, but like if there's a behavior you don't like, then maybe it's like impacting you, and maybe it's from a lack of connection. See what resonates. The third one, have a plan in case of it, right? So what that means is if you're giving up something, have a plan for like how you're going to do it. Because what I see a lot of people do, and it's like, right, okay, I'm addicted to eating lots of bad food, or they say they're addicted to eating bad food. And it's like, I don't do exercise, I don't eat well. And then they're just like, right, okay, I'm giving it up. I'm changing my life. And then they like fold and then go back to how they were anyway. Or maybe it's even worse. That's usually because we don't have a plan, a smart plan. Like, how can I gradually cut it out? Now, there's some things that are really terrible for you that you just have to cut out, right? Have a plan in case of it. So it's like, right, I want to go to spending money. Gambling is another addiction, right? Some people have. I've had a like addiction to, I would say, like spending too much money, where I was just like doing it like every day, right? And it got me into trouble, right? I've never had gambling, so I'd probably try and stay away from gambling as well. So have a plan in case of it. Like, okay, I have the urge, so write down. So say it's like eating bad food. Well, first of all, plan could be to remove any bad food from your house. But if you live somewhere locally, like I do, in a city centre where you can go places, it's like, okay, my plan is when I'm tempted to eat sugars, what I'm going to do is get a glass of water and then sit with myself and do like 10 deep breaths, right? So I have a plan. The fourth one, have someone to support you. So powerful. That's why I like these communities. You see, like, this is the power of communities that I've researched. Things like groups where people are quitting alcohol, Alcoholics Anonymous, AA. The power of community and someone support you is really shown to be powerful. I found that when even I've got accountability partner, I'm saying, right, I've got this really bad behavior. I'm going to cut it down to this much. Can you keep me accountable? And if I don't do it, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll not allow myself to have a cup of coffee the next day, of which coffee can be addictable for some people, but I'm pretty good with it and I enjoy it. Okay, the fourth, what was I on? Plan, someone support you. Fifth one, the fifth one, I was going to say, I'm getting a bit tired now, I'm not going to lie. So praise yourself for any good behaviors you do. So if you're like, right, I gave it up today, celebrate and praise, because when you celebrate and praise, that actually gives you some good feel-good chemicals in the body. That like makes your nervous system want to do more of it as well. As if you're getting a hit from when you have your sugar or maybe your cigarette or your drink, then what you can do is praise yourself and celebrate, because that's going to create feel-good chemicals in the body and you'll want to do more of it as well. Okay, my extra point I want to share with you is read the book Willpower Doesn't Work, or listen to it on Audible, by Benjamin Hardy. It's brilliant, really good. And what this is about is you need to set up an environment for success, because you can be like, you could be all in the wall, the will in the wall, be like, I'm not going to eat bad food. I'm not going to eat bad food. You got a load of junk food in your cupboards. What's going to happen? Eventually, maybe a day you can go and avoid it. But then after then, it's going to be a challenge. I had a friend who I used to work with, and he wanted to lose some weight. And he did a really good job, and I helped him with it. Even though I wasn't even a fitness coach or anything like that, I just shared what worked for me, and he did that. And he started getting results as well. And he got to a stage where he was stuck. And he said to me, the challenge is I when I start on one packet of crisps, I eat like 3 or 4, but they're in my cupboard. I'm like, why are they in your cupboard? It's like, well, I want to treat myself at weekend. I'm like, well, if you want to treat yourself at a weekend, go to the shop and buy a packet of crisps, right? And then it started producing even more results. He's like, at first, and he was saying at first it gave him a good will He had good willpower. He was like, right, okay, a day without eating those crisps. Then he suddenly caved in. You will adapt your environment and what's in it. So make sure you set your systems up for success. If you're addicted to your phone, put it in a jar. I've done that before. I put it in a jar whereby it's a lockbox and it doesn't open for a certain amount of time. Read a book, Willpower Doesn't Work, and that will really help you work through some of these challenges. So again, I want to say about like addiction and mental health, I'm not an expert, but this is my guidance. I've been addicted to things like my phone, social media, PlayStation as a kid. When my parents took it away from me, it really helped me. Sugar, when I've been accountable to someone, that's really helped me as well. Or giving up alcohol, being accountable on social media and telling people every single day makes me really driven to do it. Or doing things for charity. So think of the ways you can set yourself up for success. And if something's really bad for you, then it's first about being honest about what it is and then telling someone else and creating a plan from there. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people in your life by working on yourself as a man. And remember to lead with your heart, not with fear.